Hello and welcome to Hot Topic, one of our frequent parliamentary editions. Our correspondent from the House of Commons this time is Austin Mitchell, Labour MP for Great Grimsby. Austin, welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
One of the bigger issues locally here that you've been involved in the last month has been Channel 4's programme Skint, where they come and film people who are skint, haven't got very much money. Why have you been resisting this?
Oh, I think it's crazy. It's very unfair because these kind of programmes, Skint on Benefit Street in Birmingham, give a very unfair impression of the community. I mean, these places are communities. There are old people, young people, there are people who are on benefits, people who are scroungers, people who are working and badly paid, and all of them are some kind of underprivileged situation. Now, I think benefit tourism is obnoxious to come along and say, you know, these people are typical, let's show their lives, sordid as they are, is effectively to use them as audience bait and to point fun at them, and this is unreasonable.
But it's a true story they're telling, isn't it? I mean,
But it's not a true story. We don't show the scroungers in the city and
No,
the
but
people who are fiddling the taxes, and we don't show the people who are living life with cocaine and champagne
but they don't show
on stolen money from banks.
They don't show the successful and the generous and the kind and the articulate and the extremely delightful people of Grimsby, your constituency, either, because their story isn't about them. It's about a particular aspect of society.
No, it isn't. It's an attempt to give an impression that Grimsby is a bomb town and that it's populated by people living on benefit with worklessness as a lifestyle, and that's not true. But we are a community. People try and help the people who are underprivileged.
Yes,
there are food kitchens, there are meals for pensioners, there are outings for pensioners, there are organisations which deal with these problems and are trying the best to eliminate them, and that's not shown. What is shown is people living a life of idleness on benefit, as if they're fiddling benefit and are being subsidised by the taxpayer. It's all designed really to produce a negative reaction and hostility towards beneficiaries.
But it's not particularly being cruel to Grimsby. It could be in any town, any community in the country sadly has its people who are unfortunate and don't have a great deal of opportunity.
You don't just show the underside, the seamy side of life.
But you also don't ignore it. You don't pretend it doesn't exist and assume that any examination of it is purely for entertainment. It's like going and poking the mad people at Bedlam.
The motive behind this, the government is saying there's a vast difference between the Labour Party, which subsidises beneficiaries and scroungers and the workless, and us, the Tory Party, which is the party of hard-working people. Now,
but the government doesn't run Channel 4.
Because if you focus hostility on beneficiaries, if you show them as scroungers living at public expense, then you're only showing a very unrepresentative sample, and you're bringing ridicule on a community which on the whole is hard-working, which is kind-hearted, which is good. You're not showing people who are fiddling bank transfers or fiddling
There are other television programmes about fiddling the LIBOR, and there's a great deal of coverage of that on television. But you suggest there, almost, I think, that Channel 4 is making government propaganda or Conservative Party propaganda. Why?
The underprivileged, the poor and the workless as entertainment. That's equivalent to putting people in the public stocks these days, and it's just not fair or true. It's not a rounded picture of what Grimsby is. It's not a picture of all the concern there is and the attempt to help people. And it's an unfair reflection, I think, just done for entertainment.
Why do just moving on from that issue, nothing to do with the television programme at all, but why is it that there's attempts, and in Grimsby is an enormously generous town, an enormously caring town, why is it that there's attempts to help are so difficult and so rarely successful?
Well, I think, again, it's just using one section of society as entertainment. Television, which showed people as kind-hearted, good and virtuous, would be boring television.
There's plenty of it.
And they want an audience. Therefore, they give this unrepresentative picture.
Moving on to a more serious and a happier infrastructure story, there's a possibility that in about 3 years' time there'll be a fast train between here and London.
A direct connection.
A direct connection.
It's only a possibility, though. I mean, this comes after, 30 years of work to get the service. It was taken off. We had a service directly to London. It left at 6:28 every morning, and you could come back in the afternoon. That was run by British Rail. It was taken off about 1984 or so, because British Rail said it wasn't profitable.
That was via Doncaster.
Pardon?
Via Doncaster.
No,
the
it
old
went
service.
via Newark and Lincoln. Now, the new service will, we hope, go via Doncaster. We hope it'll be quicker. But the point I'm making is that British Rail took it off because it wasn't profitable. Since then, service use of the railways has increased for far more passengers, far more business use. A service from Grimsby direct to London would be very helpful to development in Grimsby and would be profitable. Now, we've been arguing for years to get this service restored. It could be restored either as an offshoot from the East Coast Main Line, the contract for which has just been let to competition, and we've put to the people who are competing for that prize of the East Coast Main Line the proposal that they should have a spur, an offshoot to Grimsby. That's one way of doing it. The other is a single operator who comes in to serve one area and that area uniquely. And that's what's now been proposed by GNER, which is actually a revival of the old name, which was taken by a company which is in fact German-based, which is German Railways, a nationalised railway entity, whereas we've scrapped nationalisation, which is bidding for the contract. And they've got to show, and I think we have shown it, that there will be a demand locally and that they're not going to take business away from the East Coast mainline operator. So there'll be a service which goes to Doncaster, picks up at the stations before Doncaster, but doesn't pick up south of Doncaster. So it'll get to London quicker because it's going very fast from Doncaster south, but very slowly to Doncaster.
Very welcome service it'll be too, especially to anybody who's taken that train that runs from Cleethorpes to Doncaster presently and takes almost 2 hours to do it.
Well, it'll be more than that, I think. I think that's an understatement.
No, from Cleethorpes to Doncaster takes almost 2 hours, and then it's a very quick run from there down to London.
Well,
but what are the obstacles in the way? Because if GNER is showing interest in that, then and it's willing to invest in new rolling stock, the Hitachi Super Express carriages and locomotives, and it's willing to invest in more money into the East Coast Main Line, which at the moment can only take 125 miles per hour trains. It needs to be running at about 140 miles per hour. So how quickly can these obstacles be cleared?
Well, I think they've been cleared fairly quickly. In fact, we could have had the service now. Hull Trains, you'll notice, started very easily and is now providing a very good service to Hull with about 6 trains a day. Whereas they said the kind of obstacles that you have been raising would have held it up. They didn't. We could have the same success in Grimsby. The problem is that it has to be given slots from Doncaster south on the East Coast Main Line, which is the crowded part under very heavy pressure of the railways. Now, they've got the slots, I think, by providing more efficient signalling so that they can take more trains going south. And those can be provided. I hope they will be provided, but the Department for Transport and the committee which deals with these issues has to be satisfied, A, that it can provide the slots, and B, that it won't be taking business from the East Coast Main Line.
You travel from Westminster to Grimsby every week. How do you travel?
And I hate it. I love coming back to Grimsby, but I come by car and it's a bore.
So you would use the train?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at the moment, you've got to drive to Doncaster, park the car there, which costs £9 a day, and then get the train.
Austin Mitchell, we leave it there for this short break. We'll be back in a minute.
I am on Abel's side in the sense that we want the Abel development, because that will bring the wind turbine industry to the South Bank.
Welcome back. I'm talking to Austin Mitchell, Labour MP for Great Grimsby. Austin, a second major infrastructure development here is being complicated. The Able and Associated British Ports conflict in Killingholme, just up the estuary from here. Able wants to build a new servicing facility for turbines, wind turbines. ABP wants to build a new Immingham Western Deepwater Jetty, and both of those companies need a piece of land known as the Killinghome Triangle for that. Petitions have recently been put to Parliament to try to fight this out and at least try to come to some sort of compromise. What's the resolution?
Well, I think this is a delaying tactic on the part of Associated British Ports, which wants to keep its monopoly. They have a monopoly of all the ports on the Humber. Able wants to build a production facility, in other words a land factory, which will produce and assemble the wind turbines instead of just importing the parts and putting them together. And it wants to build a dock from which they can be shipped to be installed in the North Sea. The two go together. And the problem is that it needs a long jetty, and ABP want to use part of this for their own jetty. And they say, you know, you've got to have our land, but you can only take it by compulsory purchase. We shall object to it, even though we've not been using it for 70 years, we shall object to you having this land by compulsory purchase. And I think, but thereby, they want to wreck the scheme. They say the facility can be shared. Well, Able says it can't. Now in this, I don't want to take sides, but I am on Able's side in the sense that we want the Able development, because that will bring the wind turbine industry to the South Bank and supplement the work that's going on already in Hull.
Why would ABP want to wreck that? Why would what's in it for them to wreck that?
Well, because they want to keep a monopoly of shipping and transport and dock dues on the Humber. And they don't want a competitor.
And so which is better for the people who live on the Humber? Is it the
Able
development or ABP, which is an extremely important employer in the region?
Well, ABP won't suffer if it doesn't get this jetty. But the whole area will suffer if we don't get the jobs that will be created by Able. So Able will benefit the area more than ABP. That's why I want the Able development to go ahead. But I think that the two should compromise.
So what can you do to bring about the results you want? Because there is a special parliamentary procedure, and you are a special parliamentarian. What's your role in this in Parliament?
Makes it very fraught, because by this delaying tactic, ABP can appeal both the compulsory purchase of its land and the parliamentary process of changing the legislation or the regulations for the Able development. And that's a slow and difficult process to which anybody can object. I mean, I had one occasion some years back now when David Wigley, the Welsh nationalist, was objecting to all the private members' bills, all the private bills, sorry. We had a private bill.
Private bills are bills.
Private bills are different to private members' bills.
Yeah, bills, big infrastructure projects, things like that. Building railways, they need a private
interests.
Yeah.
He was objecting to them all. We had one that we wanted for the development of the area, and he threatened to object to it. Well, I went into the chamber on the day he was going to object and held him down physically by the chamber, by the shoulders, so he couldn't get up in the chamber and say, I object. And so we got the bill. Now, when you've got to get to this kind of idiotic level of behaviour, it shows that it's very fraught and it's very difficult and it's time consuming. So why should ABP hold up the project by this kind of tactic?
Well, I look forward to watching parliamentary television with you holding down members in the future, Austin.
Physical combat.
Another event in Parliament just recently was the visit of Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. You went along to listen to her speak. She spoke in English?
Well, I went along. It was an interesting speech. I think Mrs. Merkel is a fairly dull and very cautious lady, and going to be very difficult to change.
It's quite good that we have dull leaders of Germany, though, isn't it?
Oh yes, but I went 30 years ago to hear the then president of the German Republic, who said much the same thing as she was saying now. And what she was saying had no comfort for either party, because David Cameron is clearly not going to get the renegotiation that he wants before the referendum, and she more or less says Britain is an essential part of Europe, we want you to stay, but we're not going to go out our way to make it easier for you to get concessions. So there's no comfort for David Cameron, but nor is there comfort for the Labour Party and Ed Miliband, because she also said that Europe is going to move forward to further closer union, particularly in economic management and financial institutions, and that that will be just among the Euro states. Now, Labour, in supporting Europe, doesn't want to go further in, doesn't want to be building up a bigger superstructure. So it's going to cause problems for us too.
This is all good news for you, though, as a man who wants to come out of Europe, because if there's no renegotiation, as Chancellor Merkel suggested, then David Cameron has said there'll be a referendum, and presumably that's a happy result for you.
Well, sorry, a referendum on something he says he's not going to get involved in. That's a referendum on the further powers necessary to weld the Euro states. We aren't a Euro state. We're in the European Union,
yes,
but we don't have the Euro. Thank heavens, it would be disastrous if we had. So a referendum on something that doesn't affect us is going to look pretty silly.
Your own party is planning to have changes to the way it's structured, to the way it's organised, and to the way it's financed. The unions have been deciding how much money they're going to give, and they've been changing the amounts of money they're going to give to the Labour Party. And the possible restructuring of that is that the unions are going to have less influence on the Labour Party, but that's going to mean the Labour Party might have less money.
Well, it might. That's a threat, actually. What Ed Miliband wants to do is have those union members who are affiliated to the party through paying the affiliation fee to pay an extra, say, £2 or £3 per individual and become members of the party. In other words, they'll participate in the party not through the union, but through their individual membership. That will increase the membership of the party, but my view is that a lot of union members won't bother to join as individuals. They're happy to pay the affiliation fee, and they're happy for their union to give the money to the Labour Party because it's campaigning to improve their lot and give them a better life. But they're not happy to take an individual part in the party. So I am very doubtful about this. I'm not sure it's going to work. Therefore, I prefer not to change.
But the changes that are proposed would mean that that affiliation fee that each union member pays would go through to the Labour Party. But then they'd have the choice about whether or not to pay the individual party membership fee.
Yes, that's right.
As it is now, they're paying a larger affiliation fee, or the unions are taking a larger affiliation fee.
They'll continue to pay an affiliation fee, but they'll also pay an individual membership. The problem, we have a problem. All parties have got a problem.
Is it possible to be a member of a union that's affiliated with the Labour Party, but then not find yourself having some part of your membership fee paid to the Labour Party? Or is it compulsory to pay for the Labour Party if you're a member of a union?
No. I mean, it will be compulsory if the union ballots to maintain its affiliation to the Labour Party and its political fund. That's decided by the ballot of the membership. What is voluntary is whether those members who are affiliated to the party in that way through the union will also pay an individual party membership of £2 or £3 to be members. And most parties have got a problem. Membership of parties is much lower in this country than any other country I've ever been in. I mean,
but the Labour Party is particularly
must be down to less than 1 million members, and the Tory Party the same.
But the Labour Party doesn't have the same financial backing as the Tory Party.
No, that's right. They get massive backing from business and city.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. I'd love to discuss that much further, I'm afraid. But Austin Mitchell, thank you very much, and thank you very much for joining us. See you again for another Hot Topic. Bye.